Most people never realize they're gifted because the signs don't look like brilliance. They look like isolation, overthinking, boredom, and a mind that feels too heavy for this world. If any of this feels uncomfortably familiar, you might be far more gifted than you've ever allowed yourself to believe. You've probably felt it for years, long before you ever had the words for it. That quiet sense of being out of place, even in moments where you should fit perfectly. It's not a dramatic feeling. It's not loud. It's subtle, like a soft undertone humming beneath every room you walk into. You sit among friends, co-workers, classmates, people who know you, yet something inside you stays slightly detached, slightly distant. You watch interactions like a quiet observer instead of a full participant. You laugh when they laugh, speak when you should, play along with the flow of the room, but a small part of you stands just outside the moment, analyzing it, questioning it, sensing something off that you can't quite identify. Psychology calls this social dissonance. The world calls it being different. But for people who are secretly gifted, it's simply the natural consequence of thinking, feeling, and perceiving at a depth most people don't operate on. And instead of feeling special, it makes you feel strange. You sense the gap long before you understand what it is. You feel disconnected from conversations that seem shallow. You feel misunderstood when you try to express something complex. You feel isolated even in crowded places, not because you want to be alone, but because your mind refuses to shrink itself just to blend in. You notice things too quickly, the small shifts in tone, the hidden tensions, the unspoken meanings behind people's words, and when you react to those things, people tell you you're overthinking even though you're simply seeing what they can't. So you learn to hold your thoughts back. You learn to dim your awareness. You learn to act normal, even though normal feels like a costume that never quite fits your skin. Over time, you start believing the problem is you. You wonder why you can't relax into the moment the way others do. You wonder why the world feels slightly misaligned, why conversations drain you, why connection feels like something you're always reaching for but never fully grasping. But the truth is darker and far more revealing. You were never meant to blend in. Gifted people rarely do. Your brain runs on a different rhythm. You think in layers. You feel in depth. You process the world more intensely than the people around you. And that intensity creates distance, not because you're better, not because you're colder, but because you're operating with more awareness than most people are comfortable with. This sense of not belonging isn't a flaw, it's the shadow side of insight. When you see through people too easily, you become the kind of person others don't know how to read. When you sense too much, people misinterpret your silence. When you understand things without needing them explained, others think you're withdrawn or disinterested. They don't know that you're simply processing more than they can imagine. They don't realize that you're navigating a world that feels too slow, too shallow, too noisy for the clarity your mind constantly seeks. And so you move through life with this quiet tension inside you, the tension of being built for more, yet trapped in environments that don't match your depth. There's a loneliness that comes with that, a heaviness, a questioning. You wonder why you can't just belong the way others do. But what you don't realize is that this feeling is one of the strongest signs of a gifted mind, a mind that sees too much, feels too much, notices too much, a mind that was never designed to fit neatly into the world it was born into. You're not out of place. You're just ahead of the room. Your mind has probably never been quiet, not really. Even in moments where everything around you is calm, there's a storm inside your head that never fully settles. You think in loops. You analyze in layers. You replay conversations you had days ago. You imagine different outcomes for things that haven't even happened yet. It feels like you're living several versions of reality at once, all inside your own mind. And instead of feeling gifted, it feels exhausting, heavy, relentless. Most people think giftedness shows up as clarity or confidence. But for a lot of secretly gifted individuals, it shows up first as noise. An endless stream of thoughts that won't stop, won't slow down, won't obey you. You lie awake at night replaying every detail of the day, picking apart people's tone, body language, intentions. You analyze things that others ignore. You sense motives that others never even notice. You ask questions that no one else seems to care about. People tell you to relax, stop thinking so much, let it go. As if your mind has an off switch you just haven't found yet, but it doesn't. Gifted minds are wired differently. They process more information at once. They run deeper simulations. They make connections that most people overlook. And because the world doesn't understand this, they label it as anxiety, overthinking, or sensitivity. They treat it like a flaw, when really, it's a form of cognitive power that hasn't been recognized yet. You notice patterns instantly, patterns in behavior, in situations, in relationships. You predict outcomes long before they happen. You sense danger without proof. You see through people with uncomfortable ease, but instead of feeling confident in this ability, you question it. You doubt yourself because no one else seems to see what you see. You feel like your mind is constantly 2 steps ahead, but you don't know whether to trust it or silence it. And that's where the darkness comes in. Because when your mind runs this fast, it becomes both a gift and a burden. You feel too much. You understand too deeply. You pick up on emotional shifts that others are completely blind to. Something feels off in the room, and you know it immediately. Long before anyone else realizes what's happening, you can read the tension in a sentence. You can hear the truth inside a lie. You can sense the weight behind a silence. But carrying this ability alone is heavy, especially when the world tells you it's just in your head. You begin to mistrust your own instincts. You start fighting your own intelligence. You try to quiet your thoughts, not realizing that the very thing you're trying to silence is the same thing that makes you gifted. The reason you overthink is because your mind is built to solve. The reason you analyze is because your brain is constantly searching for connections. The reason you spiral is because you feel the depth of things before the surface even settles. What looks like chaos is actually cognition. What feels like noise is actually awareness. What people call too much is simply you operating at a level that they can't comprehend. You are not overwhelmed because your mind is weak. You're overwhelmed because your mind is powerful. You've probably noticed it your whole life, the way you pick things up faster than the people around you. You understand instructions before they're finished. You see the pattern before anyone else even recognizes there is one. You grasp concepts instantly, almost instinctively, like your mind is already several steps ahead. And while other people are still trying to figure out the basics, you're already past the point of interest, already drifting into the next idea, already searching for something that actually challenges you. It doesn't feel like brilliance, it feels like restlessness. You start something with excitement, but the excitement fades as soon as you master it. You learn a skill quickly, but the thrill disappears once it becomes predictable. You understand a topic deeply, but the moment it becomes repetitive, your mind begins to wander. People see this and call it inconsistency, lack of discipline, lack of focus. They don't realize it's the opposite. You focus too deeply, too intensely, too quickly. Your mind burns through information until there's nothing left for it to feed on, and once it gets bored, it leaves, searching for something more complex, more layered, more demanding. Psychology calls this rapid learning speed, but gifted people live it as a kind of inner hunger, a hunger that rarely gets satisfied in environments built for average minds. You sit in classrooms feeling trapped, you sit in jobs feeling underused, you sit in conversations feeling unchallenged. It's like being handed a puzzle meant for children when your mind is designed for far more intricate problems. And so you drift, not because you're careless, but because nothing feels deep enough to hold you. People misunderstand this. They assume you're lazy. They assume you're unfocused. They assume you quit too easily, but you don't quit because it's hard. Your quitting is a sign that it was too easy, too predictable, too small for the way your brain works. And the world rarely rewards that kind of mind. It rewards consistency, repetition, routine. It rewards people who can do the same thing every day with the same enthusiasm. But gifted individuals aren't built like that. Their stimulation threshold is higher. Their curiosity is stronger. Their mental processing speed is faster. And so you end up living with this quiet restlessness, this constant search for something that can actually keep up with you. You jump between passions not because you're lost, but because you outgrow each one faster than people expect. You absorb knowledge quickly, but it fails to anchor you. You master things that should be difficult, but they never feel like enough. And the darkness of it is that you begin to question yourself. You start wondering why nothing holds you, why everything feels temporary, why your mind moves too fast for your life to match its pace. But here's the truth: gifted minds are rarely satisfied by ordinary challenges. Your brain thrives on complexity. It craves layers, depth, intensity. It wants puzzles that bend your thinking and ideas that reshape your perspective. When life feels slow, your mind becomes the loudest thing in the room. When life feels predictable, boredom becomes a cage. You're not inconsistent, you're unchallenged. You've probably felt it in the way people react to you. Subtle, quiet, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. The way someone's voice shifts when they talk to you. The way their eyes break contact too quickly. The way they hesitate before telling you something, as if they're already aware you'll see more than they intended to reveal. Most people move through life without noticing these micro-signals, but you don't. You notice everything. You feel the emotional temperature of a room the moment you walk into it. You can sense tension in the air before a single word is spoken. You can hear the insecurity buried inside someone's confidence. You can feel the truth hiding under their smile. This level of perception isn't normal, it's not common, and it's not accidental. It's a quiet depth, one that makes gifted individuals stand apart even when they stay silent. You read people in ways they don't know they're being read. Their energy tells you more than their words ever could. Their expressions reveal things they hope no one sees, and your mind pieces together the full picture effortlessly, instinctively, without even trying. But this depth comes with a strange consequence. People feel exposed around you without understanding why. They sense that you see too much. Even if you're saying nothing at all, they feel the weight of your presence because your attention cuts deeper than they're used to. You don't skim the surface. You don't accept masks. You don't fall for the version of themselves they present to the world. You see the cracks. You see the shadows. You see the parts they'd rather leave unspoken. So they act differently around you. They talk too much or too little. They become nervous, defensive, unusually open, or strangely distant. They project confidence, but their body language betrays them. They pretend you don't intimidate them, yet they avoid your gaze. You don't try to make them uncomfortable. It happens naturally because your presence triggers a psychological reflex. People fear being understood too deeply, and you, without meaning to, understand them too deeply. This quiet perceptiveness isn't something you learned. It's something you've always had. Even as a child, you sensed when something was wrong before anyone admitted it. You noticed emotional shifts before they were explained. You felt lies as a physical tension in the air. You picked up on hidden meanings without needing them spoken, and while others moved through life blind to the undercurrents, you were absorbing them all, silently, constantly, endlessly. It's a powerful ability, but it can also be isolating, because when you see people clearly, it becomes harder to bond superficially. You can't unsee what your intuition reveals. You can't pretend someone is trustworthy when their micro-expressions tell a different story. You can't ignore the emotional mismatches that others are oblivious to. And that depth forces you to stand alone more often than you'd like. Not because you choose distance, but because you can't pretend. People sense that you're not easily fooled. They sense that your mind won't accept the version of themselves they offer, and that awareness changes their behavior in ways you didn't ask for. You become the person people confess to without meaning to. The person people avoid when they don't want to be seen. The person who hears the truth even when no one speaks it. And the strange, dark reality is this: the deeper you see, the lonelier it feels. Because the more you understand people, the harder it becomes to feel understood by them. You don't make people uncomfortable. You reveal them. You weren't meant to blend in. You were built to see what others can't, feel what others avoid, and think where others stop. You're not hidden. You're not lost. You're gifted, just waiting for the moment you finally realize it.